Test, test, test. Working? Good. Test, test.
Got this mic rolling as well, so you can stay here.
Okay.
Maybe keep it in there just so I can hear you.
All right, everybody can hear me? I think we're going to start the formal program here. So I'm Paul, Hans's brother, the most favorite of the family, always. So anyways, we're celebrating Hans's life here. Hans, my brother, and brother to Henny, and Dirk, and John. And I always called Hank my brother ever since we were young. He came to us when we were very, very young, and he always, to me, was never my uncle, he was my brother. So I always treated him like my brother. If I ever tell anybody when, because I left Lake Cowichan here in 1979, joined the RCMP, so anytime maybe where you from and all that, and I said, well, I've got a sister and 5 brothers on Vancouver Island. I says, then Hank was always my brother, so you'll always be my brother. So Hans's legacy, of course, is a brother, and he's a father, and a father of 3 beautiful daughters, and a grandfather. And so his legacy has gone on and proven with everybody that's here and everybody that's come here to celebrate his life. And then also he's husband, and Sue's here. And from my experiences with him, he's always Hans's Hans. You know his humor and everything, but he's touched a lot of people's lives. And for me, when I was born, Hans was 12 years old. So as I grew up, before we got to really know each other, well, he was 12, and then by the time I got to be, a little older and stuff like that, and got to know him a little more and more better and stuff like that. But he's out working, and like he quit school and worked early in his life. But when I got to be, I was about 12 or 13 at the time, and then our mom became very, very ill, and she was in Victoria General Hospital for, I think it was well over a year, about a year and 5 months or whatever. So we had lots of people living at our home. At one particular time we were talking about earlier, we had over 18 people in our 1-bedroom home in Lake Cowichan, living there, and all going out and working and doing things. And so at that time when Mom was so sick, and then Dirk and I was 12, and you're 3 years younger than me? Yeah, about 9. And then little kleine Jelligie, little Johnny, he was about 2 at the time. So, like our duties, Dirk and I, our duties in the morning were, when everybody got up, everybody went to work, well, our duties was to get little Johnny and get him dressed before school, and then walk him to a lady that was named Ann Patrick, was a friend of my mom's, and take him there and then pick him up after school. Did it every day, and Vancouver Island is rainy all the time, and we're soaking wet getting to school. So and then I said to Hans, it's a lot of work. And then by the time we got home, then we ended up having to peel potatoes for everybody and get supper ready and that. So Hans, my mom at the time, had a 1959 Chevy Bel Air car. and my dad had a station wagon. So my dad would take off to work, and then, so one of the first advice that Hans gave me at 12 years old was, well, why don't you take Mom's car with the kids and take Johnny to Ann Patrick's and then take the car to school. So I'm 12 years old. I said, well, yeah, I can drive. So we did it. 3-speed on the tree, took the car, loaded, you remember that, Dirk? So Dirk, me, Johnny, load him in this 1950. So we live right behind the police station. And Bob and Dean Coxon were same age as us. They came in the car with us every morning going to school because we used to walk to school with them. So we did this for about 3 months. And then one day after school, we're coming home because we hid the car up on Lamb's Hill and then walked to the elementary school. And then we're coming home, and then it was a rainy day, and there's a police car behind us. Follows us into the driveway. Corporal Coxon at the time, he was in charge, and his 2 boys were in the car with us. Follows us into the driveway, and he was a big burly man, bald-headed, big mustache. So I have to quote what he said, and if you don't be too offended, but so I get out of the driver's car, and he walks up to me and he says, what in the fuck are you guys doing? And as well, we just came from school and picked Johnny up. He's all be speaking to your dad, and he got the boys out, got us all out, told him he's parked the car, and he said, I'll be back, talk to your dad. And then he was a very mean kind of a guy too, and he disciplined his boys by slapping them with a belt. And so when he came and talked to Hans, or talked to my dad, and told him, he says, Foley, this is what these guys are doing. They're driving a car, and you can't be doing that. And he's, oh, okay, that's all right. So when my dad says, well, Mr. Coxon was here, and Corporal Coxon said all that, and he says, well, and he knew we were doing that, because I couldn't figure out how we always had so much gas, because when in the car all the time, and nobody drove it, so it was gas in the car. So we kind of knew that. And then Hans would kind of put gas, but we also went around the neighborhood, stole lawnmower gas and put it in the car when we were low too. But anyways, so that was the first advice that my brother gave me when I was that young. Kind of like, it was good or it was bad, I don't know. It worked. So that was my first advice. And then years down the road, I'd be coming back, and we had a pretty good relationship. And when they had the store in Honeymoon Bay, then I used to golf with them, and we used to chat lots about different things and that. And then it was the next time that I had some really good personal advice and from him was in 1993. I was stationed up in northern Alberta, and I got into an incident where I had shoot and kill a person. And so kind of, it was all justified, but kind of bothered me. And then shortly thereafter, I was visiting down here, and I was kind of talking to Hans about it. And kind of mostly the only one that I really talked to other than my wife. But, and he gave me some really good advice on how to deal with certain things and that kind of a thing. And so that was his other advice, and private advice he did was really good to me, and that way. So he was a good brother, and miss him lots. And we were close within our hearts with each other, but not close like doing lots of things together as a brother. But he was close to everybody here, and I think and his legacy, as I look out here, how many people that are here today, he's touched a lot of lives. So I've got a couple of other things that my sister Henny had wrote out that she wants to say about Hans, and I'm going to read that out to you now, because she wasn't quite comfortable coming up and doing that, so I'll do that. And she had written this down that I would like to read out to you, so I'll just read it verbatim here, and it says, have known my oldest brother Hans the longest of anyone in this room. We all have our stories and memories of him, and I just wanted to speak about his earliest years. He was first born in Holland on our family. in our family and was the only child for 7 years before I came along. They moved to Canada after the war. Mom and Dad came here in 1953, and they came to Merritt. Mom and Dad were busy making a living building and then operating a general store in Merritt and had a meat market as well. So Hans became my caregiver. He was the kindest older brother and dragged me around with all his friends to all activities, including Halloween and going to movies. I learned to keep up and enjoy the wilderness, as they were always busy building forts, fishing and swimming. Leeches on my legs, fish guts, and swarming bees were part of my everyday life. I can't remember him ever complaining or being mean to me. I was just part of the group of kids hanging out, his friends, and had little brothers, and they were in charge as well. As the years went by, though, his friends came to the house one night in cars, inviting him to come along to a teenage party. I remember the red backlights leaving down the driveway, and I cried, "Hans, don't leave me." He came around the corner of the house and said, "Oh, shut up." And probably said you were too homely. Hans was kind and accepting all his life. Casey, our neighbor, was gay and was a welcome part of our group. He even came with us on extended holidays to Holland. His friendship lasted even with life changes and Casey moving to Vancouver. He was the best big brother and was always there for me and my family, and I always felt his love. He would never work on Friday the 13th, feeling he was unlucky and his job of falling was so dangerous. I would envy him as I went to school, as he got to sleep in and having a relaxing day. He died on the 13th, not a Friday, but I like to think it was a day that he got to sleep in and relax finally from his lengthy illness. When Mom was in hospital at the end of her own lengthy illness, the only person she ever called out was for Hans. So that was. And I have another excerpt here that Henny got, and it's from Charlene Eldred. Can't really give her Thor Grimson. So that's Thor Grimson. Of course, that's Joan's sister. Yeah. So Joan's sister, which is Hans's first wife. So she has here, "I had to message you, as I know the memorial of Hans this week. To me, it was a very sad day when he passed away, but I was told how unwell he was. The part about his illness was the worst, and no one should have to face this. Hans always held a special place in my heart, and when he was with Joan, I had some very good memories. Before my dad passed away, he talked to me about each one of us kids, and when it came to Joan, he said, 'I'm not worried about Joan, as she has Hans to look after her.' But things changed over time, but I'm telling you this as my dad loved Hans. Hans was always there when we needed him. When Dad passed away, he got in the car and gathered us all together and took us home with him. There are different times about Hans showed his strength to us. Every time I seen Hans hold Hans, I told him I loved him, and the last time he was sitting on a chair. He gave me a smile and gave me a little wave with his hand. I know he got mad at me a couple of times for being the dummy, as I was that kind of person. You know, the one that can't see the trees for the forest. That's when he tried to talk some sense into me. It took a while, but these things, too, that I remember off the top of my head finally sunk in. These were very important things. I have fond memories of Hans, as he had the sense of humor that you don't come across very often. He spoke proudly of his parents and siblings, lots of funny stories of Johnny when he was a wee one. Even though I won't be there, I want you to know I'll be thinking of you and sending love to you, Charlene. I think the girls have something that they want to come up and speak about.
Thank you. Okay. My name is Tammy, and Hans was my uncle. I'm up here. They don't make me cry. I'm up here on behalf of Jessica, Jocelyn, and Jennifer. Although no longer with us, this was absolutely her story too. I would like to read you their memories and feelings of him. Dad was a dedicated family man who was always there when you needed him. He loved hosting get-togethers and campouts and telling bad jokes. He always said if he teased you, that he meant he liked you, which he really must have liked me, which in this family, we harass the ones we love. He loved all sports and grew up playing hockey, baseball, and golf. If he wasn't playing it, it was on the TV, that or the news. The girls have fond memories of their childhood with their many ski trips to Mount Washington, Lake Louise, and family vacations to Mexico. Growing up at 3 Mile and then out to the log house in Honeymoon Bay and swimming and catching frogs at Little Beach. Dad, your love, patience, generosity, understanding, sense of humor will live within us forever. You have given us gifts that are more precious than anything in the world. You will live in our hearts and we will miss you forever. It was an honor to call you Dad and be your daughter. Seeing everyone here today shows how much you will be truly missed. We love you, Dad. My little part at the end is, I just know that he's up there with Jennifer having a Caesar and telling everybody that they're so ugly even the tide couldn't take them out with his huge smile. We will all miss the patriarch of this family, and we're best and better people to have known him. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie.
That was very nice. I guess I didn't really get very many gifts from Hans, but I guess the gift that I can, when I read Tammy's speech there yesterday, I says I was going to mention the gift that I got from him. He taught me how to drink a Caesar. So he was always a good Caesar maker, and that was one of the gifts I got from him. So, and the gift of having him as my brother. Is there anybody else that would like to come up and say anything? Sure. Anybody. The mic is open.
So, I'm just going to read a poem. Ooh, Jessica, you got me going a little bit there, girlfriend. My name is Destiny, and this poem's called The Dash. So I'm going to read the poem, and then I'm going to explain where I fit in the dash of Hans's life and his family's life. So just let me know if you can't hear me very well. I read of a man who stood to speak. At a funeral of a friend, he referred to the dates on the tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted that first came the date of birth and spoke the following date with tears. But he said what mattered most of all was that dash between the years. For that dash represents all the time that they spent alive on earth. And now only those who loved them know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and love and how we spent our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For you never know how much time is left that can still be rearranged. If we could just slow down enough to consider what's time and real and true, and always try to understand the way the other people feel. And be less quick to anger and show appreciation more, and love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect and remember this special dash, might only last a little while. So when your eulogy is being read with your life's actions to restash, would you be proud of the things you say and about how you spent your dash? I love this poem for so many reasons, and I'm part of Hans's Dash. I came to Lake Cowichan in 1982. Moved up from Duncan when my mom remarried, and my two friends that I got to be friends with immediately were Jessica and Anita. And Jessica and I became so close. Our birthdays are 2 days apart. I became a sister in their family because having 3 daughters, they fought. So having that 4th daughter along stopped that fighting because Jess and I could hang out and Jen and Joss could be together. I went on many family vacations, Lake Louise skiing, where I met Paul, and Mexico, skiing numerous times at Mount Washington. Got a few good backhands from Hans in the back of the head because, you know, my mom said if she does not pull the line, you can treat her as your own, and he did. But it's all good because he was my dad. I used to call Joan and Hans mom and dad. I still call Joan mom when I see her. They were very special people in my life and very important. Hans never treated me as if I wasn't part of that family. When we went anywhere, it was always, these are our daughters. Didn't have to explain that, you know, she's got a D and the rest of us are all J's, but you know. So it was nice to be a part of his dash for a short time, and still being close with Jessica and having that relationship. I think that was because he treated me so well, and Joan and him treated me so well as part of their family. So I miss Hans, and I wish I would have had a chance to see him prior. Circumstances, I was out in Ontario for 23 years. But just talking with Jessica and getting to know a little bit more about things, I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to see that there are all these people here that do love him and loved him, and the family that will continue his legacy. Thank you.
Thank you, that was very nice. Yeah.
Okay.
So as you can see, Hans has touched quite a few lives, and I want to thank Sue and Jessica, Jocelyn, and Sue's daughters. They have come into Hans's life as a second marriage, and and I've gone through that myself too. Ended up getting another daughter other than my other two through my second marriage, and just becomes when you have that, and how Hans portrayed his second marriage, and that took Sue's girls in like they were his own. So that's the way Hans's heart was, and he's always been that way his whole life. And again, I want to thank Sue, Jessica, Jocelyn, the girls, and didn't want to make anything really long, kind of a thing, and so I always kind of, when I do speak or do stuff, I kind of treat it like a mini skirt, short enough to keep you interested, but long enough to cover the business. So, so anyways, I think that is food starting to get prepared, or we're just going to mingle until that's ready or whatever. So.
It'll be ready in 5 minutes.
Perfect. Okay, kind of works out just right. So we'll just mingle, and that's what we're here for, to be able to share our thing. What we got?
I gotta say one thing.
Yeah, you betcha. Anybody else want anything to say?
Today, that my dad loved Sarah and Brandy and Sue and Joe as much as he loved us. And I need you to know that, okay? Wasn't said enough today, which it should have been said more. So anyways, he did. You were his daughters and grandson and wife. So there we go.
Yep.
Had to be said.
I know a lot of people here and a lot of the posts in many ways, the girls, all of them. I'm really sorry. I loved your father very much. He did a lot for me. He was my fire chief. At one time, he was my forester I drove all the way out to Port Renfrew every day by myself because I couldn't find a worker. And he had a radio, and him being my forester, he gave me another radio just so we could communicate, make sure I was okay. It's the kind of guy he was. He really understood and how important it was to help someone, make sure they're safe. I know he was a good father, and I know lots of faces. I see Henny over there, I haven't seen for a long, long time. Being a Friesen, they we knew them, and I used to go to bingo with Truce and my mom. I was about this big. Talk about smoke back then. Wow. Anyhow, I get to play my own little card, but I was never allowed to say bingo. But every once in a while, I was, Mom, it's bingo. Well, I could say bingo, but those were really cool days. The Hands came into my life probably through Dirk, and going over to the house. Foley was a butcher. I became a butcher. I was always intrigued in his pickled herring and how he made it. All the good stuff. Yeah, it was amazing. And good memories working in the mill with Foley and everything else. It's a great family. And I could not come up and say I miss him too. Thank you guys. Thank you.
Trying to figure out how to start this. Thanks, Jess, for inviting me. Hans and I worked together. He'd been retired for a couple of years, I would think, and he was probably one of the best workmates I had. I was a tree climber. Little story I got, we were on the Souk River. Long story short, I fell out of a tree about 40 feet. I guess I knocked myself unconscious. And I remember waking up on the landing, which was probably 200 or 300 meters away from where I fell out of the tree, and I look up and I see Hans's face. And I said, how the hell did I get here? Well, I dragged you up here by your hair. How do you think I got here? But anyways, he probably saved my life. And when we moved to Honeymoon Bay, and I think it was the early 90s, my kids were just tiny, and Hans would always look down at my kids and say, are you guys nose pickers? Right? And they'd look up with big eyes, and then he'd kind of look off into the distance when the kids are still looking at him, and he'd say, did you see that cadiddle hopper? And they'd be looking around, and yeah, I never figured out what a cadiddle hopper was, but the type of guy he was. Yeah, fond memories. We were on a job in the interior somewhere, and Hans being an old faller, he could knock down some trees in a hurry. And there was one tree in particular that on the private property, the lady asked, please do not cut down this tree. My grandfather had planted it and all this sort of stuff. And so we tied a ribbon around it. And I come back, and of course the tree's down. And Hans is standing there chatting with a lady that's quite upset. And I'll never forget the look on his face, and he kind of just said to the lady, we can plant another one, it's okay, trees do grow. But that's the type of guy he was. He kind of did what he wanted. And, yeah, there was, I think I was trying to think of a couple things that I'd like to say, but they escape me now. But he did say one joke, and I believe it was a pastor and a nun going to some sort of convention. And the nun was apparently quite good looking, and the pastor, being whatever, he kept reaching over and touching her knee. And she'd go, Scripture 1.8, and he'd take her hand away. Down the road a little bit farther, he'd touch her knee again. Scripture 1.8, Father. And take his hand away. And they finally get to the little thing they were at, and he goes, for the life of me, I can't remember what the scripture was. And she said, well, those that reach higher shall seek glory. Anyways, that was Hans' little joke. So, anyways, all my best to your family, and thanks for everything.
All right. Uncle Hans saved my mom's life. He saved her by grabbing her hair in Port Renfrew. It swept her away many years ago. So thank you, Uncle Hans, for doing that. Many years of laughter with us kids in the summers. He caught me and Jessica climbing out of the log house, and I can still hear him yelling at us, get the fuck in there. You know, and then I'd swear and he'd put snuff in my mouth. So anytime I swear, I always think of him. So anyways, that's it.
Well, that's good. We'll just kind of mingle a bit, I guess, until we're ready to serve. Oh, sorry, one more. Did you catch it?
I couldn't not come up today. My mom and dad moved up to Honeymoon Bay. They bought a lot off Dib Noble. Now, Dib Noble, the Nobles lived on the same street as my mom as a child, and she used to babysit all the Noble girls. My mom's family, Looney, were in construction, and so was Dib. So that's how we got up to Honeymoon Bay. And when Marv Trudeau built the log cabin, I was very sad when they moved, when him and Sue split up. And when the Post family moved in, it was like, oh, well, this is almost even better, you know, because we had so much fun down at that boat dock. And Hans was always there to do repairs on the boat dock. He put up a diving board, and in the summer, that was our go-to place. We had hours of fun and water skiing. It was an amazing time. And even though, Joss, you were only 11 when I met your family, and I was like 25 or 26, you know, you were the little brat, but anyway, it was just amazing times, and Hans made that place better. I remember one time coming home from a ball tournament over in Vancouver. I used to play softball, and I was hot. I had scrapes all over me, but down to the boat dock, and I pulled up a chair, sat on it, and it went over backwards. I hit my head on the boat that was docked there. This was non-alcohol at the time, and I didn't know where I was. I didn't know what was up or down, and all of a sudden this hand grabs me out of the water, and it was Hans. And I think he saved my life that day. So when people say Hans saved your life, I really do believe he saved mine, because I honestly didn't know where I was at that time. But Hans, always a good time with him, because funny, like sense of humor plus. So I really miss the man, and I was really glad to be able to come to this celebration. Thank you.
Hey everybody, I'm Darren Busher, Hank and Wanda's youngest son. Hans is technically my first cousin. Dad was their uncle. I can't even believe how many stories I could tell you about Hans and my memories of it. Like, we were so lucky as kids because they spent so much time as family and the family functions. Sorry, I'm getting emotional. But it was always something going on. Mom and Dad were always busy. everybody was busy, but it was at least once every 3 weeks or 2 weeks, we would have dinners and we would have gatherings. And like starting with the 3 Mile House, right? Like it was a little hobby farm. It was so much fun, right? And then, you know, finding all the dead chickens when that mink, I think it was, that came up and ate them all, and the horse that bit me by the neck and dragged me around. And then with the log house, like it was just amazing. It was, he would always do everything with us. Like, hey, you want to go water skiing? You know, he was always so, I had such a close relationship with Uncle Hans. I totally miss him. When I seen him just before he passed, he still had his sense of humor. Like the nurse came in and I was explaining to her what kind of a guy he is with his sarcasm. And
he liked his bed bath.
Right away, he did his sarcasm, and I was just like, there he is, right? There's Hans. I think that's a lot of where I got my sarcasm, because we were around it so much. I mean, at the log house, I mean, I remember the moonshine in the basement.
No, that was in 3 Mile.
Well, I thought that was the log house.
No, 3 Mile.
Well, I thought it was both.
And Uncle Paul's RCMP officer came in because moonshine's illegal. He said, what's going on here? And so they kind of looked the other way. But actually, Uncle Dirk's arm went numb the night before his wedding because he drank a couple shots of moonshine. He's like, my arm's gone numb. And he couldn't talk. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I can't speak enough about Uncle Hans and the relationship that I had with him. I spent a lot of time with him in grad 93. Tammy and I pretty much lived in his house while he was living at Sue's. It was a great summer. We did a lot together. Hans was always so generous and thoughtful. I hung out with him a lot, and we had a lot of long talks. So yeah, for sure, out of the 5 children that Hans was probably the closest that I've ever gotten to. And he taught me a lot, and he always let us, like you say, you know, hey, you want to camp on my lot at the log house? That's where we learned how to steal coolers out of campsites.
And Bill, no, what's his name? Lawnmower.
The lawnmower. He says I owed him a lawnmower because of all the condoms on the grass. But he always his sarcasm, and he always had something. Like when he said that to Tammy, like, you're so ugly, the tide wouldn't take you out. That hurt her so bad. Like, I was like, Hans.
I think he said to Melanie one time, you're so flat. What was it about you're so flat, or something about the chicken breast or something like?
Anyways, I just had to get up and just share a little bit, because again, he had a big part in my life, and what kind of a good gentleman he was. And you know, he loved Sue and he loved the kids. Like, he totally did. He took you guys in like it was his own, right? And so I got to spend a lot of time with you guys and with them, right? So I love you all, and I know we're gonna miss him big time, right? Okay, thanks.
And one more thing, Morgan was his favoriteest granddaughter of all times.
Hi, for those that don't know me, my name's Melanie. Jess and I have been friends since grade 8. So we moved into the house at 3 Mile when they moved to Honeymoon Bay, and that's how Jess and I met, became really fast friends. And Hans must have liked me very much as well, because he used to tell me that I would have to tie stakes around my neck for the dogs to play with me. And he would tell me that often, and he would bug me about my chicken legs and a lot of other things. And when I first pulled into the parking lot here, there's a baseball field here, and I had this massive flashback of Hans, because Jessica and I used to play baseball there, and he said, what was he saying? He just used to bug me about my chicken.
You're so flat,
yes,
the
like,
chickens are jealous. Or
yes, you're so flat, the chickens are jealous. Like, he was very funny. I mean, he was full of sarcasm. I mean, I'm lucky I grew up, you know, being so confident in myself after hanging out with Hans, but he was amazing, and honestly, when they moved to Honeymoon Bay, I think there was many of Jess's friends that actually moved in for the summer. So we would vacate our place and just go there, and I don't know how Joan and Hans handled that, but.
It's because we used to pick up boys at the campsite.
Hans drug us out of the down by the beaches.
You know what he said? He said,
intoxicated often.
He goes, I don't want my kids hanging like a pack of dogs in heat,
Yes.
walking around.
But we always remember lots of laughter, lots of fun. They were amazing to us, and they just kind of put their arms around us, and we were there. We were his kids too, and lots of great memories. And he's very missed, and I will always remember his touching my heart. Thank you.
Cindy's got something.
Everyone's probably wanting to see this to be done, but. Oh, no. I'm Cindy. I'm one of the nieces. I just wanted to come up to say how close Uncle Hans was with my dad. I know my dad doesn't want to come up and say that, but he used to phone my dad every day. And they were like the best of friends, and I know how much my dad misses him. Like we're like brothers, yeah. So this is for you, Dad, because I know you'd love to say that. And the camping trips at Jocelyn's, like with Henty Henny and Uncle Jim, and Uncle Dick would be there, and Sue and the girls, and all of us would be there. Oh, so much fun. And we're playing bean bags and all that wonderful stuff. And you'd look over at Uncle Hans sitting there with his ice maker, making his ice, getting his drinks all ready, and he'd just sit there with the biggest smile on his face. It was just, he was in his glory. So God rest Uncle Hans, we love you.
Well, thanks for everything, and I guess we'll just mingle till we are ready to have our meal. Thanks.